Now, 400,000. You're going to have all of us ride with you that day so we can watch in unison as it tips over?
Yes. Everybody in the audience is invited. It'll be like a clown car. Everybody pile in.
Well,
Bring your big shoes.
well, the driver would define that, yeah.
Are you gonna? Do I get another John Hardy, Mike Hyde?
No, what I was going to
there?
say, you need to have more censorship in your opening. That's as Jackee says, I've been picked on, and that's not nice, is it, Jackee?
Now
Good morning to you. I mean, you know.
you brought in the BMW today, the
I
convertible.
did,
Yeah,
I
what
did.
year is that?
94.
Beautiful.
I was almost right. It said 95.
Yeah.
These are our co-hosts, the Admiral Bill Stubblefield. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Rob. Great to be here.
Mike
Always
Allers
fun.
Jr. is here as well. Mike,
Yep, first time as a co-host. Very excited.
good to have you, sir.
And you pick the right day with these two to be co-hosts. You'll sit back and enjoy.
I don't know about that.
We just had, it started when Melissa came in and she and Bill went at it.
No, she did. She was poking him in the eye.
She and Bill went at it.
I felt like we were on air already.
As many people who have sat in these studios have said, the show should be what goes on before the show starts and the commercial breaks should be the show. But we have standards we have to follow as an FCC licensed organization, and some of the language would never clear.
Hey,
Our guests on the program,
language.
you weren't using the language.
Thank you.
Not in this particular setting.
not this one.
No, not this one. We have the president from the Berkeley County Board of Education, Jackee Long, who brought in refreshments.
Good morning.
Thank you for the donuts.
Thank you
And the
for
vice president,
having
Melissa
me.
Power.
Good morning.
And
And what did you bring in, Melissa?
I brought myself in my
brought in
mouth.
trouble.
I mean, I just start going.
let's get at it right now.
Oh, no.
All right. Delegate Chris Anders has threatened a lawsuit against the Board of Education if you folks don't comply with the governor's executive order on vaccinations in schools. But the State Board of Education has given you orders that conflict with the executive order that the governor has issued. So Jackee Long, Melissa Power, what do you follow?
I
follow
follow.
the law
And the law is where?
in West Virginia Code.
And that states what?
It states that we should, our oath is to follow the code, and then the 16, West Virginia Code 16-3-4 gives specific immunizations that children have to have before a certain date.
Melissa?
So,
Where's the conflict?
So you know that we started this before air. And,
So you should be all loosened up.
Oh, trust me, I am loosened up. But we have a conflict in how we view what we're looking at, and I'm transparently saying that.
You mean you and Jackee have
Me
a
and
conflict?
Jackee have differing views on this. We did swear an oath to the Constitution, and we do by code. I do agree that we do by code have to follow the guidance provided to us by the State Board of Education.
No, by West Virginia Code.
Right, but they oversee us. In code, it says that they oversee us, and that they are the ones who provide that
policy
oversight.
says they
Right.
oversee us.
So that's where I'm saying that we follow state
Yeah.
board. Okay. Where I feel we have been left in a little bit of a pickle, if you will, is when you have the legislature who has passed the religious freedom law, and you have the parents' freedom of rights that was also passed, which I'm totally in agreement with. I support both.
One of the things that you ran on when you first campaigned.
Agreed. And then you come up against the State Board of Education, who has voted unanimously to follow what they believe to be the law, which is the vaccinations that are required. You now have a conflict because the legislature did not pass the religious exemption pieces. However, in the religious freedom that was passed, it said that it applied to all laws, previous and current and future. So if that is the case, we now have a quandary with the legislators at this point, and now the legislators and the State Board of Education in some capacities, not just with this, but with other issues. They're now in a little bit of this like tug of war, and I liken it to, because I'm divorced, I had shared custody with my kids, with their father. I sit there and I go, wow, this is like sitting, we're the kids, and we're watching two parents fight over who has, quote, control. And I sit there and go, when you all are done being children, and you want to be the adults in the room, please let us know, because that requires talking to each other, not at each other. And right now they're talking at each other. And I have no problem saying that out loud. And I can say that to anybody that's on our state board. I have no problem. I wish that there was talking to each other, not at each other,
And
on both sides.
I agree with what she said about the legislature and putting us, and not so much the state board putting us in the middle, because they're just following the code. As she said, the law wasn't passed. So then we put out another section of code, the Parental Freedom or Rights Act, that totally defines something else. So which one do you follow? And I think that court hearing in Raleigh County is taking place today. So that'll give us some kind of precedent to follow in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully that'll be settled before school starts.
Which is less than a month away.
Yes. But I also see that being challenged over and over.
Yes.
So I don't know if we'll come to any kind of conclusion even this year.
I think this is going to be a long, and this is something that we do agree on. This is going to be a long process, and in the meantime, we're going to be the ones stuck in the middle. And
you just let it play out. There's no arguing about it, or
no.
Just
How
let
do
it play out.
how do most parents feel at large about this? Because obviously there's
let
some
me say
strong
this.
opinions in the legislature.
We have gotten maybe 2 or 3 calls in at the board office about that particular.
Not many.
That's pretty low.
Not many.
No,
I know there was an encouragement to call, but we haven't
Yeah,
actually.
I
gotten
checked on it, and there was 2 or 3 calls.
Yeah.
So
Now,
now after this program, there might be more, but
here's where I sit. When I send my child to school, and this is a parent's perspective, and while I'm pro parent and pro religious freedom, I'm not about ready to sit there and go, we shouldn't be doing vaccinations. I'm not in that camp.
Okay.
What I am in is the ability for parents to consult with their physician, have a candid conversation about what is good and best for their child. You make that decision. If we start including all these other entities into into this mix, whether that's school systems or extracurricular activities, whatever that is, you're now doing more of policing parenting at this point than you are helping facilitate a good, transparent culture of understanding what's going on. I can tell you that when I raised my kids, early mid 2000s to into the 20 teens, I can tell you that when I would go sit down with the physician, the pediatrician, I had more information for some of the vaccines, not all, but some of the vaccines, than even the physician did. And I'm sitting there going, all I did was read the pamphlet that comes in the box that they have their vaccine from. How am I reading more and getting more of it? And I'm schooling the physician. That's hard. And so
take a breath a minute. Take a breath, because it's okay we're not supposed to parent about this.
I'm not.
Let me
but that's
finish.
what we're doing.
We're not supposed to parent about this, but we have to parent on everything else.
I agree, and that's wrong.
Well,
if it's wrong in one area,
but
it's wrong in all areas. I can't pick and choose.
But
I can't cherry
as a
pick what I'm
caring
okay with and
educator,
not.
how do you not take care of students' needs and parent them when some parents, and don't write me letters, when some parents aren't parenting their child?
A vaccine is not necessarily a need,
You
and
said
that is a difference.
parenting.
I understand that. I'm trying to give you a difference. There's a difference between providing food to your child and understanding with a medical professional what a vaccine is, and either providing or declining the vaccine.
That's no
That's
different than an
It is-
IEP. We're making decisions in IEPs with this.
But that's education. That's not medical. That's education.
Many times it is medical.
Don't you have to have the consent of a parent or guardian before you start an IEP?
Yes, and parents are involved.
They're looped in. But Jackee, like as a former educator, I think this has been the debate because unfortunately schools have had to take this route because I've seen it time and time again where, I mean, as a teacher, you have to be the advocate, the parent, the lawyer. Like you have to do everything for these kids. So I think the debate here is really, I don't think school intended to be the parent.
Correct.
But it's now the
They're
parent.
forced to be the parent.
They're forced to be the parent in this situation. Now,
I don't want to say, excuse me,
Yeah.
I don't say forced because they don't want to do it. Because that's not an educator's role. They are there because they love the kids and they want to keep them safe and they want to educate them. But when you see that child's not getting what they need at home, they're going, you know,
But
you've
your
been there.
definition of need and the parent's definition of what a child needs could be two totally different things, because from where I'm sitting as a religious freedom advocate, for my religion, I disagree with certain aspects to vaccines. That is my religious right.
So what if the
to
need is
believe
not
that.
to have a child doesn't get enough food? That's a need. I mean,
Vaccines.
it comes full circle.
But vaccines and food are two totally different aspects.
Yeah,
you do not need vaccines to survive.
But
You
if
do
religious
not.
freedom is at the center of this, do you guys fear that it could backfire in terms of, let's say, my religious freedom says that I want my kid, not saying this is me, of course, I actually disagree with this, but let's say my religious freedom says that I want to send my kid to school with like really controversial books that are like banned.
Okay, then send your kid to that school.
But
that's your religious freedom.
But the books, what I'm saying is if my religious freedom kind of opens the door for elements that conflict with the culture of the school, or that is debatable in that school.
This is where I would say religion doesn't belong in schools. Do you understand what I'm saying?
And I completely get it, but then what happens with prayer in school and other bills that are being
and this is where I would go. Okay, and so this is where I would go back to when I first got on the board. I had asked that we look at adding a moment of silence before school. The moment of silence for me would be a time to pray. It could be to somebody else to meditate. It could be to somebody else reading a book. It could be to somebody else doing whatever it is. If maybe it's their religion that they are practicing that they would do, but it's a moment of silence. Unfortunately, that didn't pass. Maybe I didn't articulate it well. I'm down with that. I have no problem with changing how I articulate something. I absolutely am not above reproach. What I will say is it didn't get passed. 4-1. I voted for it to be in. Everybody on the board did not. And that's okay. That's fine. I'm just saying I allowed for that because my religion is not the only religion that's on this planet. It's not the only religion that we have that's practicing in our school system. We do have to have religious freedoms, but there is a difference between promoting a religion and allowing someone to practice their religion. It's two totally different things.
Bill, what do you got for me?
That's where we get into we're a nonpartisan board, and to try to stay out of that and keep our personal opinions out of those things.
Well, and that's why I'm sitting there going, why are we then debating about vaccinations being a religious or non-religious? No.
Bill,
actually,
go ahead
Rob
and
did.
ask your question.
Actually,
Bill,
Rob
jump
did.
in.
Rob started.
Ask your question, Bill.
Bill, what do you have for me?
It's so easy to get down so many rabbit holes. We forget what's the issue at hand. And that's happened this morning. One thing that you said earlier, Melissa, about the exemptions, there's 3 types of exemptions: the medical, the religious, the philosophical. It's the philosophical and religious that are being under scrutiny now, under debate. Everybody agrees the medical should be
absolutely.
developed.
Yes.
Okay.
And medical exists already.
Yes,
Medical
it
does.
does.
It's difficult to get.
Absolutely, it is difficult
but
to get.
it exists.
Yeah, it
And
is.
the other point I was making about going down a lot of rabbit holes, the issue in my view is which takes precedent, a standing legislative law or the executive order that the governor signed.
There you go.
That reduces it down, regardless of what your position
I'm
is.
not in disagreement with you, Bill. I support that idea.
So
I'm
do
in
I, and I
agreement.
don't know which one takes precedent.
Well,
Especially during the same legislative season, they voted it down.
Yeah.
No,
So we're
no,
all
I'm
in
saying, no,
agreement on that.
let's wait a second. They did not vote everything down. The executive order was independent of the legislative action. The legislators had an opportunity to change the law on the books, and they chose not to. So
Correct.
that means you go with
With
precedent what is on the books.
In a sense, they
And-
voted it down. I mean,
Well,
come on,
no.
it
You
got
didn't-
tucked away and didn't see the light of day.
Okay.
Well, they voted against it. It didn't get tucked away and not see the
It
light
got
of day. They
tucked away.
No, it didn't.
Yes, it did.
You haven't been at the Capitol. You don't. That's not the way that works. I mean, the law got voted on. It was
I'm gonna
what
let her
to
have
what.
it. That's fine. I love her. I love her.
I'm just telling you. I know how it works. They brought it up. They voted it down. Move on to something else. That was their philosophy. I don't think it got tucked away.
Here's the deal: when you could leave one weekend, one day, and then you come back the next weekend, the next after a weekend, and it's totally flip flopped. I mean, that's crazy.
That's immaterial, though, Melissa.
No,
That
it's
is
not.
immaterial.
No, it's not.
It's
Who
the
got
fact-
to 'em?
Well,
No.
I'm just saying, who got to him?
Well, what does that do with the price of eggs? It does
Yeah.
not. What's the price of eggs is what came out of the legislative session.
Exactly, which is nothing.
It was significant.
It was significant. They went against the governor.
No,
They bucked the system. Yes, they did. They bucked the system. They bucked the
Now
governor.
let Bill finish so he can express his disagreement
Sorry.
with you.
Well,
Go-
He's-
Bill,
I'm sorry. I pushed his buttons already.
well,
I'm
no,
sorry.
you haven't pushed the buttons, except that you're trying to introduce a lot of different facets, and what it does is confuses the issue, Melissa.
Exactly.
The simple
Thank you,
issue
Bill.
is what's
I love
on.
Bill Stubblefield.
What's
I love me some Bill too, but
we have two conflicting forces right now. We have the governor's executive order. We have what's on the books passed by the legislators. Everything
the
else
religious
is
freedom.
secondary. It has to decide which of those two takes precedence, which of those two is going to be the controlling factor.
and I go back to the U.S. Constitution where it says I have the freedom of religion.
That has nothing to do with
But
the
we
governor's
take an oath.
executive order and
But
the,
we take
and
an
the
oath.
law that was.
But we take an
not
oath.
passed.
But we take an oath, and in that oath, we say that we are going to uphold the Constitution. And then I go back to the fact that we have a religious rights law that says it applies to all laws, current and past.
Well, and then you also have something else that says differently.
Exactly.
Like in
So
West
that's why I'm
Virginia
saying.
code. So that's why.
That's why
it's in
I'm saying
court.
we are in a quandary, and I'm looking at the different facets because if we
That's why
don't
it's
look
in
at all the
court.
different facets, we're going to ignore the elephant of the room, which was the chaos that's down in Charleston.
and this really brings us back to the very first question I asked to start this, which is
What
after
was that question? I don't even remember.
we have conflicting orders.
Yes.
Yes.
We do.
And we have conflicting laws.
And
Yes.
it
And
does
this is
put
the
us-
reason why we have courts,
Yes.
in theory.
And let's be transparent. Remember what I said before the show. This is pitting one person against another.
Sure.
This is not helping anybody in any stretch of the imagination. When you are now putting people, and I love Jackee. Jackee knows that I love her, and she knows that while we differ on this opinion, we can go right to the next topic and be on the same page with it and the same side, and we
that's
advocate with each other.
absolutely correct.
That is just what we do, and that is everybody on our board right now. I think that's because we are trying to put the kids and the community and our teachers and our staff first, right? And that I think goes to our passion that we have for our school system. And so to hear some people say that we don't care, we do care. Sometimes you don't understand.
We care too much.
You-
Not too much. We care.
But here's what worries
abundantly
me
care.
as a former educator, and you guys know this if you've been in the classroom. You know, you get sick
Yep.
all the time.
Yep.
Kids bringing in all sorts of germs. I taught in a very diverse area where a lot of kids were from, third world countries and everything else. There's obviously debate around immigration in this country. And my worry is, what if a kid who is an illegal immigrant, and it is his religious freedom or her religious freedom to not get vaccinated, and they bring whatever is happening down in Guatemala or whatever into the school and infect me and the other kids? That's kind of my concern here with, it seems a little too broad. Like, I understand the thought behind the religious freedom thing, but when there is some responsibility in the fact that teachers don't get paid enough to combat these, potential diseases.
And I agree with you totally. That's one of my fears.
Okay, so
Yeah.
can I talk?
We have two.
Well,
and
you
a-
haven't
2.5
stopped yet, so.
So in my day job, I work for a company that works with our Office of Refugee and Resettlement, which is ORR, which is underneath our Federal Department of Health and Human Services. And one of the things that we do is those unaccompanied minors who come into our country, they need shelter. And so one of the things that we do is we provide them that shelter. These are children, anywhere from, birth to all the way up to 17. They age out, they're no longer in our care. And I know that this is a sticky point with a lot of folks. However, we provide them care, education, medical, therapeutic, food, clothing, all of it. We provide all of that. When we talk about medical care, there is the conversation that those children have with their physician. In those conversations, I have seen, I can't give you specifics, but what I have seen is there is nobody that I have seen that in the care that we've provided where they have not chosen to have the vaccinations. So if a child is coming into our country and is in ORR care, and I can't speak across the whole network, I'm only able to speak about what I've seen where I work at my facility. They are choosing the vaccinations. I have not heard, nor have I seen any conversation surrounding philosophical, religious. I don't know any of those.
So I guess the question
those
in
conversations.
That, though,
so
who's
then when they are
advocating for them,
Yes,
like
exactly.
I guess
there are
they accepting it because they don't understand?
No, there actually is a we do have a medical interpreter that's there. They walk them through it. There's information that is given to them. They do have the right to refuse. There's a whole host of things that we walk through with them to make sure that they do understand.
Youngsters. I mean, how
And
do you
there
know they
is-
even understand?
Well, and that's where the conversation takes place. And I can't give you, I can only give you specifics for where I work, because we actually deal with the older kids. We don't deal with the younger. So I can't give you, if it's 2 years old, I can't give you that information. I don't know that. I would imagine that there are the advocates.
But what about the other kids that aren't in that program?
I think we just passed a big
There are
old
many.
Medicaid bill that makes sure that those are here illegally won't get those shots any longer
Well-
unless they've got the bucks in their pockets.
Well, if
to
they're
pay.
in ORR care, they're not. It's different than if they're on Medicaid.
Yeah, well,
I'm just
We'll
telling
see.
you.
no, I understand. I mean, but we did just pass a bill to make sure that anybody who is in this country illegally doesn't get those vaccinations or any other medical care.
So there you
So
are.
that doesn't help the classroom any
No.
at all.
So
Anyway, we
once
just
again,
ran out of time.
Educators are in.
We just
a
ran out of
quandary.
time. Jackie and Melissa, thank you
should
both
have
very
had us
much.
on for